Most men will never hear what I'm about to say, and that's exactly why their conversations with women keep failing in the same silent, invisible way. Not because they're rude, not because they're boring, but because everything they were taught about, or to talk, is backwards. If you've ever felt a woman lose interest without knowing when or why, this is the moment that explains it. Right now, somewhere, a man is asking the perfect questions, using the right tone, being polite, attentive, respectful, and still being forgotten. And another man, saying far less, is being listened to, felt, and remembered. This isn't luck. This isn't looks. This is psychology. What if I told you the words you think are connecting you are quietly placing you beneath her emotionally? What if the habit you were told makes you interesting is actually signaling uncertainty, need, and hesitation? And women feel it instantly. No one tells men this because it's uncomfortable, because it forces you to stop performing and start standing. This is not about manipulation. It's about understanding how human attraction actually works at the nervous system level. Why presence beats cleverness. Why certainty beats charm. Why the man who leads the emotional direction of a conversation is felt as safe, grounded, and rare. If you stay with me until the end, you'll never speak the same way again. You'll understand why questions weaken you when overused, why silence can be more powerful than words, and why the moment you stop asking for permission to be interesting, people start leaning in. This isn't advice you'll hear everywhere. It's the truth most men avoid, because it demands responsibility. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Most men don't realize this, but the moment you start asking too many questions, you quietly give away power in the interaction. Not power in an aggressive sense, not dominance, but psychological positioning. Questions, when overused, place you in the role of the seeker, and the seeker is always one step behind. He is reacting, adjusting, waiting. Attraction doesn't grow there. Think about it carefully. When you ask a question, you are asking to be let in. You are asking for information, permission, confirmation. You are saying, without words, I don't know yet, guide me. And while curiosity is healthy, reliance on questions as your primary mode of communication signals uncertainty about your own ground. Women are incredibly sensitive to this, not because they are judging you, but because their nervous system is always scanning for stability. Statements do the opposite. Statements say, I am here. I see, I decide. They don't demand a response, they invite one. They don't corner her into answering, they give her space to feel. And feeling is where connection happens. When you say something like, you seem like someone who values depth over noise, you're not asking her to explain herself. You're offering a perspective. Whether she agrees or disagrees, you've already created engagement. Her mind turns on. Her emotions lean forward. She wants to respond. Not because she has to, but because something inside her was activated. This is the psychological difference most men never learn. Questions are linear. Statements are dimensional. Questions move forward step by step. Statements open a space. Philosophically, this is about identity. A man who relies on questions is still assembling who he is in the moment. A man who speaks in statements already knows where he stands. He may be wrong sometimes, and that's fine. Confidence is not about being correct, it's about being rooted. Here's what's uncomfortable: to accept attraction doesn't come from careful politeness. It comes from clarity, and clarity requires the courage to be seen. When you ask endless questions, you hide behind curiosity. When you make statements, you reveal your lens on the world. That's why statements feel risky, because they are honest. They expose how you think, how you perceive, how you interpret reality. And that exposure is what creates polarity. Notice how naturally powerful men speak. They don't pepper conversations with, "What about you?" every 10 seconds. They say things like, "I don't enjoy shallow conversations," or "I value people who are self-aware," or "I don't rush connection." These are not demands. They are declarations. They give the other person something to respond to emotionally. And here's the paradox: when you stop asking questions, women often start asking you questions. Not because you manipulated them, but because your presence feels complete. Humans are drawn to completeness. This doesn't mean you never ask a question again. It means questions become intentional, not compulsive. They come from curiosity, not insecurity. They are used to deepen a moment, not to create one. A man who understands this doesn't try to impress. He expresses. He doesn't collect data. He offers perspective. He trusts that the right woman will meet him there. Psychologically, this shifts the entire dynamic. You move from, "Tell me who you are," to, "This is who I am. Step in if it resonates." That single shift changes how you are perceived, how you feel about yourself, and how the interaction unfolds. Most men talk to be liked. Powerful men talk to be aligned. And when alignment replaces approval seeking, attraction stops being something you chase and starts becoming something that naturally responds to you. So the next time you open your mouth, don't ask just to fill silence. Speak to set a tone. Speak to reveal your center. Speak like someone who is already at home within himself. Because the way you speak is not just communication, it's self-definition. Most men misunderstand what women are actually responding to in a conversation. They think it's words. They think it's logic. They think it's saying the right thing. But women don't connect to language first. They connect to energy. And energy is not what you say, it's the emotional state you bring into the room. You can say all the correct sentences and still feel forgettable. Or you can say very little, imperfectly, and still leave a lasting impression. The difference is not skill, it's presence. Women are emotionally intuitive by nature. That doesn't mean mystical or irrational. It means deeply perceptive. They pick up on micro signals, your pace, your stillness, your comfort with silence, your emotional regulation, long before they process your words. Their nervous system has already decided whether you feel safe, grounded, and real. This is why intention alone is useless. You may intend to be confident, respectful, charming, but if your body language is restless, your tone is uncertain, and your energy is seeking approval, your intention never lands. What lands is what you are, not what you hope to be. A man who understands this stops trying to manage outcomes. He stops performing. He slows down. He speaks when there is something to express, not because silence scares him. And silence is critical here. Silence reveals emotional stability. A man who is at ease in silence communicates abundance. A man who fills every gap communicates anxiety. Women don't fall for rehearsed lines. They respond to emotional congruence. When your words, tone, and internal state are aligned, you feel solid, and solidity is attractive because it suggests reliability. Not control, not dominance, reliability. Psychologically, this is about regulation. A regulated man can hold emotional space without rushing to fix it, explain it, or impress within it. He doesn't mirror her emotions impulsively. He remains himself, and that calm consistency is rare. This is why men who try hard often fail, while men who seem indifferent succeed. Not because indifference is attractive, but because effort driven by insecurity leaks tension, and tension repels. Calm effort, on the other hand, feels intentional. Women can sense the difference instantly. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you need a woman to respond positively for you to feel confident, you are already emotionally dependent. And emotional dependence is felt as pressure. Even if you never say it out loud, women respond to men who are self-contained, men whose emotional state does not rise and fall based on external validation. When you speak from that place, your words carry weight, not because they are clever, but because they are unburdened. This is also why trying to win conversations backfires. When you aim to impress, persuade, or outperform, you collapse into performance mode. Performance is exhausting to witness. Presence is restful. Think of it philosophically. Attraction is not built through force or persuasion. It emerges when two nervous systems feel compatible, when one person feels steady enough for the other to relax. That's not achieved through strategy, it's achieved through self-awareness. This is why personal development matters more than communication tricks. If your inner world is chaotic, your outer speech will reflect it. If you are settled within yourself, your words will naturally slow, deepen, and land. A grounded man doesn't chase reactions, he allows responses. He doesn't need to prove value. His emotional state already signals it. And here's the paradox that shocks most men. When you stop trying to create attraction, you often become attractive. Because the absence of need creates space, and space allows curiosity to grow. Women don't remember what you ask them. They remember how they felt in your presence, whether they felt calm or tense, seen or evaluated, safe or pressured. So stop obsessing over what to say next. Start paying attention to who you are while saying it. Regulate your pace, lower your tone, allow pauses. Speak from stillness, not urgency, because in the end, attraction is not a conversation skill. It's an emotional state you invite someone into. And the most powerful question you can ask yourself is not, what should I say? It's, what do I feel like to be around? Most men hesitate because they were taught that leadership in conversation is risky. They believe that if they take direction, they might offend, overstep, or be rejected. So they soften themselves, they ask permission for everything, they wait to be chosen, and in doing so, they unintentionally communicate something very specific. I don't trust my own judgment yet. Women don't respond to that, not because they want control taken away from them, but because leadership signals emotional safety. A man who leads is not someone who dominates. He is someone who is internally organized. He knows what he wants, what he feels, and where he stands. And that clarity is calming. When you ask for permission constantly, you transfer responsibility to her. You make her decide the pace, the tone, the direction. That might sound polite, but psychologically it creates friction. Most women don't want to manage the emotional flow of an interaction. They want to participate in it. Leading doesn't mean commanding. It means offering direction without force. It means saying, let's talk about this, instead of asking, is it okay if we talk about this? It means stating, I enjoy meaningful conversations, instead of waiting to see if she does first. This is subtle but powerful. A man who leads creates a container. Within that container, a woman can relax. She doesn't have to guess where she stands or wonder what you want. She feels orientation, and orientation reduces anxiety. Philosophically, this is about responsibility. A man who leads takes responsibility for his presence. He doesn't outsource it. He doesn't hide behind politeness to avoid rejection. He is willing to be disagreed with, and that willingness is strength. Many men think leadership means always being right. It doesn't. Leadership means being decisive even when uncertain. It means saying, this is my direction, while remaining open to feedback. That balance, firmness without rigidity, is rare. Women are drawn to men who can hold their ground without becoming defensive. Men who don't collapse when challenged. Men who don't explain themselves excessively. That steadiness communicates maturity. When you ask, is this okay? You are often asking for emotional reassurance. You want to know if you're safe. But a man who leads has already made peace with the possibility of rejection. He doesn't provoke it, but he doesn't fear it either. That's why his presence feels grounded. Leadership in conversation is also about pace. Rushing is a form of insecurity. So is overexplaining. A leading man allows moments to breathe. He lets statements land. He trusts that if something resonates, it will be felt. He doesn't chase reactions. This doesn't mean ignoring her responses. It means not being governed by them. There is a difference. You can be attentive without being reactive. You can listen without surrendering your center. Psychologically, this communicates autonomy. And autonomy is attractive because it suggests self-sufficiency. A man who leads doesn't need agreement to feel whole. He shares his direction and allows her to choose whether to walk with him. And that choice is what creates genuine connection. Most men try to be chosen by being agreeable. Powerful men invite alignment by being clear. They don't persuade, they position. When you stop asking for permission to exist in the interaction, something shifts. Your voice settles. Your words become fewer but heavier. Your presence becomes felt instead of noticed. Women don't want a man who waits to be told who to be. They respond to a man who knows himself and is comfortable letting others meet him there. So don't ask if you're allowed to lead. Decide to, because leadership is not about control over someone else. It's about control over your own hesitation. At the deepest level, everything we've talked about comes down to one core distinction: certainty versus uncertainty. Not confidence as performance, not arrogance, not loudness, but inner certainty. And most people underestimate how loudly uncertainty speaks, even when the words sound correct. Uncertainty is not neutral. It is draining. It leaks into your tone, your timing, your body language. It shows up as hesitation, over-explaining, seeking reassurance, adjusting yourself too quickly. And while you may believe you're being considerate, emotionally it feels unstable to the person on the other side. Women don't withdraw because a man says the wrong thing. They withdraw because they feel the weight of his uncertainty. Because uncertainty asks them to stabilize the interaction, and that is exhausting. Certainty, on the other hand, is calming. A man who is certain does not rush. He does not scramble to recover from silence. He does not panic when there is a pause or a disagreement. He stays present. And presence is magnetic because it signals emotional self-trust. This is not about knowing everything. It's about trusting yourself even when you don't. A certain man is comfortable saying less. He is comfortable being misunderstood temporarily. He doesn't chase immediate validation because his sense of self is not fragile. Philosophically, certainty is alignment. It's when your inner world and outer expression match. You are not pretending to be confident while feeling anxious inside. You are not saying things you hope will be approved of. You are expressing what is true for you in that moment. And that congruence is rare. Uncertainty creates noise, certainty creates clarity, and clarity is deeply attractive because it simplifies emotional reality. It allows the other person to relax into the interaction rather than analyze it. Think about how you feel around someone who is unsure of themselves. You start monitoring them. You adjust your behavior. You sense their need. Now think about how you feel around someone grounded. You don't have to manage them. You can just be. That difference is everything. This is why men who try harder often repel, while men who seem calm and settled draw people in effortlessly. It's not effort that repels. It's effort rooted in fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of losing interest. Fear of silence. Certainty has nothing to prove. A man who is certain doesn't rush to fill gaps in conversation. He trusts that meaning doesn't need constant noise. He allows moments to unfold. And in those moments, emotional connection deepens naturally. Psychologically, certainty signals emotional independence. It tells a woman, I am not here to take from you. I am here to share from myself. And sharing feels safe. Taking feels heavy. This is also why uncertainty is felt as pressure. When you need a response to feel okay, the other person feels responsible for your emotional state, even subtly, even unconsciously. And no one wants that burden. Certainty removes that burden. It doesn't demand interest. It invites it. It doesn't beg for engagement. It allows curiosity to arise on its own. Here's the part most men resist hearing: certainty is built long before the conversation begins. It's built in how you live, how you make decisions, how you tolerate discomfort, how you stand by your values. You cannot fake it with words alone. When a man is certain, his communication simplifies. He doesn't perform. He doesn't explain excessively. He doesn't adjust his core to be accepted. And paradoxically, that's when acceptance often arrives. Women don't want perfection. They want stability. They want to feel that if emotions rise, someone remains grounded. That if there is disagreement, someone stays centered. That if there is silence, someone is still at ease. Certainty provides that anchor. So if you want to become unforgettable in how you speak, stop focusing on technique and start cultivating inner alignment. Say what you mean. Mean what you say. Allow reactions without chasing them, because when you become certain within yourself, your words stop trying to convince. And that is when they begin to resonate.